Is time travel possible? That's the latest geeky question we are seeking to answer in this segment called Tell Me Why, where we bring together elementary school kids who have a great question and a scientist who can explain it. Today we're joined by 6-year-old time travel enthusiast Rory Selinger and her dad, Evan. And from Paris, we have Dr. Nicholas Warner, a professor of physics, mathematics and astronomy at the University of Southern California. Rory, you know that in Paris it's already nighttime right now, so in a way Dr. Warner is already in the future. Do you have a question for him?
Is time travel possible?
It depends on what you mean by time travel. There are several things that it can mean. First of all, you can travel faster into the future than other people, or travel backwards in time and see your history. So time travel into the future is actually theoretically possible. All you have to do is travel very close to the speed of light, and your time will go more slowly than the people, say, left behind on Earth. So if you take off to Alpha Centauri or some star at very, very, very close to the speed of light, you can get there in a few days, turn around, come back, and you'll be gone maybe a week, but the rest of the Earth will have gone by a few years. So you could come back the same age as your dad.
Rory, have you ever been on an aeroplane?
Yeah. I've been on there a few times because I've gone. Next, I've been to California, so I've taken a lot of planes there.
So when you're on a plane, because you're going faster than you currently are, your time slows down just a tiny little bit. And scientists have done experiments where you take two clocks that are both identical, clicking at the exact same time. You put one of them on a plane or on a rocket ship, and then you bring it back down to Earth after it's been traveling really, really fast, and you compare the two clocks, and the one that was in space is actually showing an earlier time than the one that was on Earth. And that's not because we've somehow hoodwinked the clock into thinking that it's experienced less time. It's because there was actually less time. So you're a little bit younger than you would be if you'd never been on a plane.
And you can make it really extreme. If you travel very, very close to the speed of light, you can go into the future millions of years and only get a few days older yourself. If you travel fast enough, you go very close to the speed of light. The other way you can do it is you basically can, if you get into a very deep gravitational field, like if you go on a camping trip near a black hole, and then your time will run really, really slowly, and when you come back, the rest of the universe will have aged an awful lot more. So it's theoretically possible to travel into the future and see the Earth millions of years from now, just by going on a trip into space.
Does that make sense, Rory? Kind of, maybe. What about time travel into the past, Rory? Would you rather travel back in time or forward in time?
I think back in time so I could see what the dinosaurs were like.
Oh, that would be pretty cool. If you want to see what the dinosaurs are like, it's probably easier to do something like Jurassic Park and make them in a laboratory now and let them grow on Earth. Going backwards in time causes all sorts of problems. So to go forwards in time doesn't violate any laws of physics. In fact, it's part of the theories of relativity that Einstein figured out. But to go backwards in time causes all sorts of paradoxes and all sorts of difficulties. Like you could go back and, shoot your grandfather, or go back and change history, and then where would you be? Or you could go back to the beginning of this conversation and then say, I don't want to talk to Nick Warner. And then there would be two of you fighting over whether you talk to me. And then those two could go backwards in time and then fight with the third copy of you. You can see all the crazy things that could happen.
Rory, if you went back in time, what would you do?
I would try to meet like one of the presidents, because there's only been 2 presidents when I've been alive. So I would like to meet like one of the first presidents, like George Washington or Abraham Lincoln.
Mm-hmm. Great. What would you take? What would you take with you?
I would first take some good music.
What would you play the music on when you get back to the 1700s?
My iTouch.
Do you think George Washington would think it was good music?
I don't know.
There's a great story that a great physicist called Richard Feynman used to tell that I heard him say, which was that a story about a physicist who invents a time machine. And he gets in the time machine and he goes back into the past to see what would happen if he killed his younger self. So he takes a gun, he gets into the time machine, and he hunts down his younger self while he's walking through the woods, and he raises the gun and he shoots him from afar, but his aim isn't very good, and he shoots his younger self in the arm instead of actually killing him. And the reason his aim isn't very good is because of that shooting accident that happened in the woods 20 years ago. You can sleep on that one and think about it tomorrow. Okay. Nicholas, how do we resolve such paradoxes? Do they need to be resolved, or are they consistent as long as that causal loop is kind of intact as the story goes?
There are, in principle, actually, there are sort of, if you push theoretical physics a bit, you can actually make things that look like time machines. So first of all, you have to make something called a wormhole. And so a wormhole. So there are many. They use it in science fiction movies a lot. They use it in Star Trek movies recently. They've. Do you read Harry Potter?
I'm gonna see the movie like in a few months, or like in September, because that's when my birthday is. Okay. I think I might be, because I get scared easily, so I think I'll watch when I'm 7.
But they use a thing called flue powder in that, where you throw it into a fireplace, and then you walk into the fireplace, and you walk out in some other fireplace somewhere else on the planet. Or they have all sorts of ways of just teleporting from one place to another. And so making a wormhole in space-time it's pushing theory a little bit, but you might be able to make one so that you could open a door in your house and then step into my house in Paris, instantly. That would be a wormhole. But wormholes have two ends, and you could then actually, by manipulating it, you can put one end of it somewhat into the future and the other one leave it in the past. And then by walking through the door, you could walk through the door in my house yesterday.
If you went back...
Go ahead.
Yeah, well, I was just going to say, we all know the kind of Back to the Future 2 scenario of time travel, yes, where you create an alternate reality by going back and changing it. So yes, is it possible that there are lots of different parallel realities that are conjured into existence the moment people in the future start traveling into the past?
There are theories in quantum mechanics which say that every time you make a choice, a decision, a measurement, the universe branches and you follow a particular branch and another branch goes in another direction. And so, yes, every time you could imagine going back and then jumping onto another branch of the universe. But then you would never, the other thing is that you would learn that there was no way of passing between current branches. So, yes, you could go back, wind up in a universe that now has a different future from the one you started in. In principle, but it's very hard. We have no evidence for this happening, but there are theories in quantum mechanics that say you can interpret quantum mechanics in this way, that every time there's a measurement, every time there's a decision, an alternative universe branches off, which we never communicate with again, but it goes on its own separate way and it branches off again. So every decision you make, every change you make, everything you do, whether you decide to drink a cup of coffee or drink a cup of tea, different universe springs off from that choice.
Rory, do you think that every time you make a decision, another universe comes into existence?
Maybe. I once went to a restaurant where there was a fake time machine, and it looked like if the scientists could come over there, they probably could make it real. Dad, what was the restaurant called?
Yeah, and it had one that looked like a time machine.
Yeah, but what was the restaurant?
Oh, I don't remember, honey. So are you saying that there is a multiverse, that there's a Rory that doesn't get on Huffington Post, and then there's a Rory that is, and there's all kinds of other Rorys?
Exactly, and there's a Rory talking to another physicist, there's a Rory talking to a chemist, there's a Rory,
But fortunately, in all of these alternate parallel universes, I am still the host. So,
that's the best of the world.
Rory, if you could go into the future, where would you go in the future? How far would you go?
Maybe to times where they can make cars that can fly, so you don't have to take your airplane, or so you can bring your car with you, and that could also drive normal. So like if you're like want to head to like across the world, you could do it, but it would take faster than an airplane, and you would be able to do it, and you could just snap your fingers and you'll be there.
Yep, sounds good to me. I'd love that. What would you take with you if you went into the future? What would you need?
First, I would need some, in case I was, first thing, because if they had those kind of cars, I should bring earbuds and some music.
Okay, that's brilliant. Do you feel like you've gotten some answers here today from Nicholas?
Yeah, I think I wish the car my mama got a new car yesterday. I wish that was a car that could fly and stuff.
But if you could travel in time, you could probably just simply get somewhere without getting in a car. You just walk through a door and you'd be where you wanted to be.
Oh, that would be priceless. Well, thanks, Nicholas, for explaining all this to us, and thanks so much, Rory and Evan, for being on HuffPost Live. It was great to have you.
Thanks for having us.
I will end with a comment from one of our smart-ass producers who sends me a message on HuffPost Live saying, "It's okay, Rory, I didn't get Josh's anecdote either. Australians talk too fast. My apologies." You can let us know what you think about all this by leaving a comment in the comment well. You can find links to interesting stuff in the resource well. This is HuffPost Live.